Are you thinking about getting hair transplant done? Are you worried about how it will impact your finances? Do you want to know how much it will cost and how that cost is decided? Hello, I am Dr. Sachin Pawar, hair transplant surgeon, HairMD Pune. Hair transplant is a pretty major investment of your time, money, and effort, which is why a lot of people hesitate before getting a hair transplant done. And the most frequently asked question is how much would the hair transplant cost? This question doesn't have a one word answer. Before we discuss the cost of hair transplant, let's discuss what are the factors the cost is dependent on. The first factor is the hair transplant surgeon, his degree and experience. The hair transplant procedure has to be carried out only by dermatologist and a surgeon, not by a technician. In clinics where technicians do the surgery instead of surgeon, the cost is lower. The higher the surgeon's experience, higher his degrees, higher would be the cost of hair transplant. But the main factor to consider is that only an experienced surgeon will be able to give you the best results. Only an experienced surgeon will be able to accurately judge the ideal visual density and give you a natural looking hairline based on your age and facial structures. If you have hair in the recipient area prior to the hair transplant, only an experienced surgeon will be able to implant the new grafts without damaging your existing hairs. It also takes experience to distribute the implants evenly and implant them at correct angle and direction to achieve the most natural looking result. It is an obvious conclusion that an experienced surgeon will have a lot more scientific knowledge than a technician. Another really important uh, thing is that an experienced and trained surgeon will be able to utilize the donor area correctly while maintaining the correct density and consider other crucial factors to make your hair transplant a success. Like any other medical procedure, even a hair transplant has a risk factor. Only an experienced surgeon will be able to handle a situation or complication by immediately diagnosing the issue and fixing it. However, a technician may not be able to prevent a complication or fix it once it happens, which will eventually lead to the patient suffering only. This is why the cost of surgery may vary and increase based on the surgeon. The second important factor is OT setup. It is extremely important that a hair transplant surgery has to be carried out in an OT. It should not be carried out in an OPD setup. The OT should be equipped with important equipments, lights, magnification, and necessary measures to handle an emergency. The OT infrastructure requires considerable investment. These modern infrastructures play an important role in overall cost of your surgery. We have seen a lot of clinics that have not even used proper lights or necessary magnification equipments in OT during the procedure. This may lead to a reduced cost of procedure, but definitely will hamper the overall result. To avoid any complication, the highest aseptic standard must be followed, and this is possible only in an OT setup. There are some clinics that carry out the procedure in OPDs. This definitely reduces the overall cost of the procedure, but this is very dangerous. The third factor is high quality instrumentation. For the high precision that a FUE surgery requires, high quality instrumentation is a must. Here at HairMD, we use US made punches that are extremely sharp and very precise. When they are used on scalp, their cut is clean and there is minimal damage and scarring to the skin. Moreover, each punch is to be used only for one person, and it is imported specially for them. The locally made punches do not have very high precision, and a lot of clinics do not even follow the one time use for each patient rule. They use the same punch on different patients. This also reduces overall cost. The fourth factor is technical team at the clinic. Every hair transplant requires a clinical team. A hair transplant is a long and hectic procedure. A single person cannot carry out the whole procedure alone. Every surgeon requires a team for support. We have seen a lot of clinics where only one or two staff members carry out the whole procedure. A successful surgery requires an excellent team, and this cost also add up to the total amount. This team should be permanent. A few clinics hire temporary staff that are not interested at all in the outcome of your hair transplant. They are just concerned with finishing their work and taking their money. You will probably never ever see them again. I believe that if the entire procedure is carried out by a single person, they will just try to finish it as soon as possible. But if an entire team is carrying out the procedure, then each step will be carried out by a new person. This will allow each step to be carried out patiently and with high concentration and effort. The fifth important factor is your hair transplant. A hair transplant sometimes require specific skills. For example, transplanting in onto the temporal area is a very skillful job. If there is any mistake during this process, your hair transplant can go really wrong. There are very few surgeons who can perform this perfectly. For crown hair transplant also, special skills are required. Crown designing is extremely challenging. The whole pattern has to be created, which requires specialized skills. Even a beard transplant is a skillful task. To prevent any scarring on your face, the hair has to be transplanted at a specific angle and direction with accuracy. This also leads to an increase in the total cost of transplant. These are few of the important factors that the cost of hair transplant depends on. In India, the pricing per graft can vary from rupees 10 to rupees 200. A few clinics tell you the cost of per hair as opposed to per graft. You have to keep in mind that 2 hair is equal to 1 graft. Any hair transplant that is carried out by a well qualified experienced surgeon in a well set up OT will not come at discounted cost. You will have to invest in good hair transplant. At the end of the day, hair transplant involves art and science. This surgery requires efforts, skill, expertise, experience, and hard work. Not just the surgeon, the whole technical team also contribute to the success of hair transplant. You have to keep all this in mind, understand the reasons for the cost of the hair transplant, and invest accordingly. Whenever we go to purchase anything, we check its quality, and we know that if the quality is better, the price will also be higher. A hair transplant surgery affects your personality for sure, but more importantly, it also affects your life. You don't choose the cheap option. Would you really want a technician to perform your heart surgery? Do you really want to get your surgery done in an under-equipped facility? No. This same logic applies to hair transplant surgery as well. If you get the transplant done and still you don't feel confident or get your natural look, there is no use of this surgery. So please choose your clinic and surgeon wisely. We see a lot of ads on TV, social media, and in newspapers that offer hair transplant at discounted rates. Stay away from these clinics. These clinics reduce their cost by replacing their surgeon with technician or by reducing the number of assistants. This increases risk to the patient, hampers result, increase the chance of complication as well. They also compromise on OT setup and do not maintain the required aseptic condition either. Such unhygienic conditions increase the complication and chances of infection. Such clinics do not even have a good equipment. They can damage your grafts and hamper your results. The choice is between your health, future result, and personality on one side and the cost of process on other side. So please stay away from these clinics. If your hair transplant goes wrong, it can cause a huge psychological trauma, and it is not possible to correct or repair the results of a failed hair transplant. Choosing the right surgeon and correct clinic is extremely important for your surgery. The same cost does not apply to all patients. Each patient has a different requirement. The number of grafts, donor area are different for each patient. Some patients even require transplants in specialized areas like temporal or crown area or the beard transplant. All this determines the overall cost. That is why it is extremely important to search your option thoroughly, meet the surgeon, and ask all your questions on your mind and check the clinic thoroughly. I am not saying that cost of the hair transplant must be very high. Cost has to be reasonable and justifiable. The clinic you choose should be able to match your expectations and should have high hygiene standard, infrastructure, and clinic staff and surgeon should be knowledgeable. Only once you are satisfied with all this, you should ask for the price and check your budget. If the transplant is within your budget, you should definitely go for it. If it is out of your budget, wait for a while, manage your finances, then get the transplant. Please do not compromise on what is essential to fit the transplant cost in your budget. We have seen a lot of patients who have made the mistake of getting their procedure done just because it is cheap or discounted, and they regret it now and feel they look better before hair transplant. So find out everything, keep your budget in mind, and make the best decision for yourself so that you feel happy and confident after your procedure and not full of regrets. I hope you found this video informative. If you have any queries, please ask us in the comment below, and me and my team will answer them as soon as possible. You can also visit our website www.hairmdindia.com for more information. This is an educational video and therefore make sure to always consult your doctor before undergoing any procedure or taking any medication. I hope your surgery is successful and you find the correct surgeon. Be happy. All the best. Thank you.